Imagine having access to a tribe of mentors, experts in the biggest questions in tech. This is Making Revenue Tick. Hello and welcome to Making Revenue Tick. This is a founder special, and I'm really excited about this episode because we've got Rachit Kataria, who is the CEO, co-founder of one of the coolest businesses in the world right now, at a very early, exciting stage. And why I'm so excited about this one is because when I've been speaking to Rachit about what he's looking to build with his business, it's not just a disruptive brand. It's not just someone trying to do something a bit better. It's someone who's creating a business which is a category of one. And I absolutely love that ambition and I love the innovative thinking. So we're going to use this as an opportunity to really get into the mind of a founder who is doing it today in this market and trying to achieve an incredible vision for their team and for their customers. So Rachit, how are you doing?
Doing great, man. Feeling good to be here. It's a good start to the day.
Absolutely. Where are you in the world?
Yeah, I'm based in Oakland, across the bridge from San Francisco. Grew up in San Jose most of my life, so Bay Area local. I went to school at USC in LA, so I've always been very west coast of the United States, just shuttling around here. But I was in Chicago for a few years as well, so I traveled a little bit, but finding myself for the next few years settling in East Bay.
I think if you're going to build a tech startup, you're not in the wrong place in the world, are you?
Definitely landed in the right place for being a tech founder, yes.
So for people who don't actually already have the pleasure of knowing who you are and a bit more about your business, just give us an idea around who you are as a person and then how that's led to the business that you've created today, Centralize.
Yeah, outside of the usual kind of recapping of my resume, which is, engineer by trade, USC, undergrad, master's, computer science, went to a cool few companies afterwards. I'd say I think the underlying to all that is I've been always just very passionate about building communities and relationships from kind of day one. Like when I was at USC, actually, funnily enough, I met my co-founder, Will, at our entrepreneurship club on campus, first week of college. So we've been friends for a decade at this point. And what drives both of us is being able to build communities in a way where we can just bring folks together around shared interests and have that be a breeding ground for new ideas and partnerships. And so I used to run hack nights where we'd have literally like Thursday night from 8 p.m. till the next morning. We'd provide the boba, the food, the music, and just get people to come and mingle for like 12 hours and have a good time every Thursday. My co-founder created a Tech LA Fellows program where we paired up students on campus with internships and startups in the LA region and kind of facilitating that bond. So it's always been like a core of what we think about is how do we build relationships with people, build environments where they can do that as well. And I think a lot of, what we'll talk about soon and what our product is about is very painted on that. I'll give a little teaser. We were building the R in your CRM if it actually worked. And so not a stretch from why we get excited about what we do every day and what drives me and Will to say that's why we're building what we're building.
Amazing. You've got some pretty impressive logos on your resume. So Apple, Meta, give us a bit of an idea around how working in some of those businesses has shaped the vision that you've had around the type of business that you're looking to build.
Yeah. I've been lucky to be a part of some really cool companies. Interned at Apple, Meta a few times, and a few other startups. And I think Meta was particularly a very transformative experience from an engineering standpoint. Being a builder, thankfully a founder that can both code and sell and do everything else. And hopefully we can do a lot with just all of those things in one founding team. But I think Meta in particular, so I lucked out being part of Facebook Shops, which was their big e-commerce push in COVID. They were basically seeing the move from brick and mortar to online, and they wanted to be a part of that. And I was kind of part of the early engineering team that created it. Stock jumped 5% the day we launched in May 2020, kind of crazy milestone. And then I helped the team build and scale what grew to basically 250 million monthly active users in a year. Pretty insane journey in like Meta scale, obviously. You don't throw billion around unless it's Meta, basically, for like user base. And just being able to see what it took to build a really, really good product at that scale and think about the end user all the time. Like, what am I changing that is going to directly impact this volume of individuals in a way that is statistically significant and valuable? It's always the end user in mind there. I will say, for all the greatness of meta, the downside is the user you were solving for is a number in a stat sig moving, metric that is so abstracted away. Like 250 million people monthly who we are not, we have no semblance of really who is that end user outside of someone on the other side of a phone and anywhere in the world, really. Uh, and what I actually would attribute a lot of what helped me build the company now with Will is what I went to next, which was AtoB. And that was a fuel card for trucking, literally like a Visa gas card to go for like fleets and ambulance drivers to go buy gas to do their job every day. And I was a product tech lead there and the engineer that would go out on the field to truck stops and company HQs with the AEs and the CSMs to figure out what do I build that I can help my go-to-market team sell or support. And I think once you start doing that in a B2B motion where like truly I am talking to and seeing who's on the other side that needs this, that's when you get even more focused on like, if you don't have the relationship straight, it's game over. Like you need to understand each person, what they care about, how that matters to the CFO versus the VP versus the IC on the ground versus the fleet manager, all different needs and wants. And when you do well, it's very smooth. When you don't, and you lose your champion. The context on that was in like a gong call 10 months ago. It was into somebody's head that left the company. It's in like 10 email threads. Everything falls apart very quickly. And so being able to see that up front was actually a big stimuli to building what we built now.
That's fascinating. It reminds me a lot of so before I started my retained recruitment business, I worked with an incredible founder who was building an angel investment fund, but also had a D2C marketing agency that specialized in e-commerce with an incredible founder called Natasha Courtney Smith, who runs a big event called D2C Live. She's huge in the world of e-commerce here in the UK. And so we were serving from a digital marketing perspective, e-commerce brands. And the line that she consistently said was every click is a person. And it's so easy to just get lost in dashboards when all you're tracking is, like what's our direction of travel? And it's like all the kind of classic tech talk to just remember that there is a human being there that has having a bunch of behaviors driven off a bunch of their own values and things that are going on. And if you don't think about that when you're designing what you're designing for them, it's really easy to just try and optimize everything and reduce down your CAC and just try and, make every step of it give you a compound growth. But realistically, if you get that person to love you, there's no better way to grow your business. What's your view on how you see customers today and the value that they bring to the way that you shape your vision?
We're a team of engineers right now, and we still like to say that we're all CSMs that can code. Like that is the team. We're furiously focused on as much that can go away from our plate so we can focus on our customer, because that's at this stage where the value is. It's helping the team understand like what really matters to each individual that we're solving for, having the tightest feedback loop that ties directly back into the product, and hopefully spin up the flywheel, because every happy customer is a potential happy customer reference. It is the next set of customers that they get excited about pulling into our system. It's direct feedback into what the product really should be at the end of the day. If we are building in the direction that we think versus what customers want. And if you learn anything from Y Combinator, which is where we went through for the batch last year, it's their motto: make something people want. It's easy to make something. It's hard to find what they care about, and then merging those two is even harder. That's why startups normally don't succeed. And so everything we're doing is ruthlessly focused on what is it that people want that we can tie back into our product roadmap every single day that we hear about it.
I love that. I think that obviously it's one of the coolest things that you could talk about in terms of your startup being a Y Combinator class of 24 graduate. For people who haven't necessarily been that close to that process, give us a bit of a sort of fly on the wall view of the journey that you go through as a founder to take this business that you start with and then what you finish with at the end of that graduation.
Yeah. YC is a crazy journey. Like, so glad we did it. Very worth it, in my opinion. I think it's interesting. So The cool thing about YC is you don't actually have to come in with really any product in some sense or like traction. What they really index on is the team and your ability to assess what you're going after, the market that you think is exciting and where the pain is, and have enough conviction and curiosity that when you do apply and show them that, they can sense like you've gone deep. This is not just a hypothesis. Like you've actually gone out, talked to people that feel the pain every day, built out some sort of a thesis around it, and then you're building a company around that. So that's actually what Will and I came in with. We had a few different iterations of what we wanted to build out with Centralize. Not necessarily exactly what we built out today and what you'll see or what we'll talk about, but kind of early versions of that. And a really cool thing about YC is they basically challenge you every single day to say, in the next 2 weeks, what are your revenue milestones? And if you're not hitting that, everything else in some sense is almost this like, it's very important. Like you have to worry about team scaling and operations and building and like technical challenges, but all of that gets abstracted away to here's where I am today, and here's the number I'm committing to in 2 weeks. And I'm going to do everything I can to get there. And how do I do that? The only way you drive revenue is because you build something that people want enough to pay for it, not just want because they think you're a cool person and they like you and they'll say like, yeah, happy to chat and make the time of day. Like if they're not putting their money down, then it doesn't matter to them. So a big piece of the puzzle here is, realizing that very quickly and throughout the batch, indexing not just on building and in the privileged position of being a founder that can code, but talking to as many VPs of sales and CROs and success that will make the time of day for two scrappy, early stage founders to just pick their brain.
How many people apply to go through YC, and then what's the graduation rate?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy these days, I'll say. I think the Y Combinator stats right now, like the most recent ones, I don't even know what the most recent ones are. I think it's something like less than 1% acceptance rate. There's probably like a few thousand companies that apply, and they choose maybe 200. So it's pretty intense. I again feel very fortunate that Will and I even got accepted, and we had the kind of like privilege to be on the journey through YC. But yeah, graduation I would say is largely 100%. Like everyone that goes through the batch will ultimately come out. And most people do raise a round of funding, or at least have that initial traction through YC's initial investment to keep going. But yeah, it's one of those like crazy 3 months. You don't do anything else but focus on building. It's like the pressure cooker experience.
Yeah.
It's like the most condensed, fastest learning period of time that you can just really go full send, everything all in on the startup.
Yeah, well, I love it. Well, congratulations. It's an incredible achievement. And I know it's just the start of the journey. So give people an idea around, you talked about putting the R in CRM. What is Centralize, and what's the big ambition that you're trying to achieve with the business?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, the R in our CRM is funny. So Salesforce is actually our lead investor. And it's funny that that's the phrase we use, given they are the CRM. But the way we think about it is your CRM is oftentimes not a customer relationship management platform. It's kind of a very robust but database of names and contacts and opportunities and data entry. And you need that. Like you need the system of record. It's like non-negotiable when you're building out what you're doing, but there's so much context that's not in your CRM that's hidden in all these other different systems of records. It's your Gmails, it's your calendar events on who matters to the accounts you're working on and where you're visiting. It's the words that each individual has said in the gong calls or chorus, clary, all the transcripts floating around. It's your LinkedIn relationships. It's all of the network that your entire business has built over the years of existing through execs, advisors, team relationships. And all of that, in some senses, it's like going back to that thesis that we have, like the mantra that we say every day, it is deals are not won at the account level, they're won at the individual level. Like you don't get Brex as a customer. You don't win over DocuSign. You get their VP of sales excited. You get their CFO excited. You get their ICs on the ground excited. So it's always a person on the other side. Kind of like every click is a person. B2B should make that feel even more tangible. Like every sale is because you're providing value to somebody on the other side of the table. And that that context on the relationship is so much more than just like a name and face in CRM. It is who has talked to that person. From every word you ever know about them, everything they've said, do they have a dog? Do they have kids? Do they care about the company priorities? They just want to go home and sleep? Like, what matters to that individual that you're solving for? Uh, as a result of that answer, where's the white space? Like, that's probably the biggest one, too. Are you flying blind because you don't actually know? Once you know who you got into, then you have the answer, who have you not got into? Are we missing the entire VP row in the function we're supposed to get to? And then finally, can we leverage our extended network of all these LinkedIn 1 degrees away from so many friends of the company that can help you get there faster and break into power and find the right personas that matter. So if I had a TLDR, Centralize is effectively the AI powered deal collaboration platform. It's the one place the entirety of go-to-market can wake up and think, if the unit of value is a relationship, where do I wake up and understand every relationship we've ever had across every customer and who's missing and what that means, so that that forecast you're hoping is correct and Clary at the end of the quarter is within 1%, because you know exactly what matters to the deal at every stage of the day.
Yeah, I love how you think about it. It's exactly how we used to pitch our company as an opportunity for people to join as you know, future salespeople, which is we were an outsourced go-to-market agency, the one that I worked at for 12 years. And we worked with Symantec and Dell and Microsoft and all the big names, but it looked good having the logos. You know, everyone's got the logos on the website. But it was like, this is a specific person, and we'd talk about the reason why that individual chose us and what we've been doing for them, and then show like a video case study so people could really see the impact that we were making within this part of the business and why it was so important, because we were like an extension of their team. And that resonated so much more than every company that just slings up this set of logos and you're just supposed to feel really great about the credibility that they've got. So I love how you think about that. So when you're building a business like this, which is solving so many of the problems that businesses are facing, when you're imagining the ICP that you're solving these challenges for, what does that look like?
Yeah, we've thought about that a lot. I think as a startup, you have to win orthogonally, right? You have only so many resources. You really have to choose what you want to win on and go deep on that. Uh, you and I both know there's like an endless sea of sales tools out there. Like, you gotta stand out. There's too many things to choose from. Leaders are tired. There's endless, emails flying in their inboxes. AI SDRs are not helping. It's increased volumes. It's like a lot flying around. It's hard to make decisions. I like feel for buyers, right? And what we realize is, if we can start at the places where what we're solving for, this idea of relationships, is a non-negotiable, then we're starting with like a real pain point to begin with. Like, flying blind, companies that need to have relationships to win their accounts. And what this ends up translating into, like a very simple ICP definition, is you use Salesforce, you sell up market, you sell mid-market enterprise sales, where the relationship is a prerequisite to anything succeeding. You have to get multi-threaded across potentially different personas and higher and deeper in your account. And ultimately, you care about leveraging your network that has deep relationships that could help you expand into those accounts, because you have advisors that play in those spaces and in all those different ways. So the very simple answer is, if relationships are non-negotiable to your sale, and oftentimes this happens when you have a big buyer committee, when it actually does take quite a number of people to convince these days. I mean, I think the stats are going up where like buyer committees have gone from maybe like 2, 3, 4, maybe you could even get away with just a CEO signing off, to like 8, 9, 10 plus people that all have to be on your side to get to the finish line. And that might not even just be the people buying. It's like, you have to talk to rev ups, you have to go through legal, you have to get to security. Did you loop them in ahead of time, or are they like the final boss that you're worried about in 3 months, and then you're going to get your roadblock? How do you as a team wake up, and whether you're the rep, the frontline manager, or the CRO, have the exact same story of where you are so far and where those gaps are? That to us is, if you believe that that's going to help you close your deal, and I will say anyone that's doing upmarket sales should be feeling that way, this would be a solution for them.
It's probably the number one reason why people lose deals, right? Because the reason, like, label that you would put in the CRM, like the drop down, might be, they didn't have budget, or they picked a competitor, like lost, abandoned reasons. I don't think that anyone really believes them, because it's really easy for for a salesperson to say, oh yeah, it just became not a really priority. That's why the deal slipped. but I know we had Adam Baker on the podcast. We talked about this in the pre-chat, right? So
Yeah.
Adam Baker,
Yeah.
CEO of DealPad, he did a
Yeah.
big piece of analysis. He realized that if there's not this really key person involved in the deal, then the win rate drops by like 60%. So one of his big pieces of coaching and inspection that he does across the businesses works out, was that person inside the deal? So when you're talking to, because you're acting as like you say, a CSM who can code and who wants to speak to customers all day, but you're also like a founding AE and you're the co-founder of the business. So you're literally frontline. You're talking to people all day long. When you're talking to the market today, what are some of those consistent problems that keep coming through time and time again that you are uniquely positioned to help them solve?
Yeah. There are a few. So sales is a very crowded space for a reason, right? Like everyone wants to drive revenue. It's important. It's very critical to the business. It's the lifeblood of the business's growth. There's a reason there's so much excitement around it. And if you can quantify or tie to how you actually move some of those metrics, like win rates and deal velocity, or higher ACVs, like it should feel like a very no-brainer. And so there's a reason why this is such a crazy bloated space, but we very intentionally focused on, okay, what actually is the problem that we're most excited to solve for? And we don't think it's necessarily the pipe gen front of the house, like optimized with your AI SDR or however you're getting, that initial like 50 other Zoom info competitors that are now out there, right? There's a lot happening there, and they all play an important role, sure. But what do you actually do when you have all these at bats and you want to go from stage one to closed one in every single one of those? And I think the number one recurring issue that, especially even if you go slightly above Series B and upwards, where you have 10 plus reps that you're thinking through, is leaders feeling like they're flying blind because they have no clue understanding. If you do the simple math, one rep starting with them that has 20 opportunities, that has 10 people in the op they have to manage, that's 200 people that they have to think through for one rep. That frontline manager has 5 reps. That is 1,000 people that one manager has to understand. Imagine what the CRO has to flex in and out of to get their story straight, right? It starts getting very exponentially painful to even understand like anything about those accounts. And so if we can help you not fly blind, get multi-threaded effectively because you know exactly what's going on the ground. And if you believe that multi-threading improves win rates, it's not a question of believing that, hey, we will improve your win rates. It's a question of where can I wake up as a team and do I feel confident that this will help me do what I need to do every day so that at the end of the quarter, every one of my deals is multi-threaded. That is kind of the focus area of almost deal execution, I would say, as the pain that we want to help solve because of how historically invisible it's felt to leadership and even to reps that have a book that still is in the hundreds of individuals they have to manage.
So let's say I was a VP sales at a Series B company, and I've got 10 reps, and I feel like I'm flying a bit blind, and we're slipping deals. We're missing forecast. We're part of the statistic that our team isn't doing particularly well, and I'm under a lot of pressure from my leadership team to go and improve forecast accuracy, but more importantly, just actually have some really good quality deals to talk about that actually do close revenue. When you're talking to someone like that person in that scenario, what are some of the things that you're asking them about to really uncover how you can help them?
Part of the discussion is, first of all, just asking like, how do you as a leader understand who your team has talked to and what they care about? And just start there. And it might be a mix of, I run one-on-ones, I do deal reviews, I try to check in with the team. And the simple follow-up is like, where do you do that? It's like, well, I did in Salesforce, right? I have my like list of all my opportunities, and then all my reps are on a call, and I kind of go through one by one and check how the ops are doing and like ask each person. A few things wrong with that. One, you have 10 reps, 9 of them are twiddling their thumbs waiting for their turn, right? One person's kind of going on about their deals. But more painfully, what does a row in Salesforce get you outside of what the conversation you're going to have is? It is maybe an updated next steps, hopefully. It is a updated, maybe, close date that should be accurate, ideally. It is potentially some things about the dollars and what's at stake here. But really, like in the leader's head the entire time, and maybe even the reps, the underlying question is, does this person have happy ears? Are they not at the part in the business where they want to be? Are they talking to the actual champion or a coach or someone that says they can get them there, but in reality you're kind of just being nice, right? That is the always ongoing fear, because the best granularity you have when you live in that system is hoping that your reps are on the right track. And they might actually be, they might not. The problem is, if you can't have a clear answer to that, you will forever just be living in fear, hoping that your forecast is accurate.
Hope, yeah.
And so that's the pain, is like, once you start realizing that, and then ask, well, how deep do you actually go in all these ops? Each rep has 10 ops. You have this deal review for an hour. How far do you get? They're like, oh, we have to get through all of them. So I just ask if these things are accurate and then go to the next one, which is basically just scorekeeping, right? And no leader wants to be a scorekeeper. So
No.
Where do you go from there to say, okay, well, what if you could actually go deep on your accounts? Maybe a better qualifying question is, how many accounts did you actually, when you say close loss reasons, lose because you didn't get to the right person? Like, oh yeah, we lost that other deal because our competitors got to the CMO before us. Okay. Like, what about the other deal where you had your champion for 2 months? It was a 2-quarter long deal, and then quarter 2 they left the company and you had to start from scratch. How many deals did you lose because you're single threaded and you lost the person that mattered to you? So once we start getting to that meat of it, I think the good news, and I'm glad that leaders are seeing this today, no one can test that multi-threading is valuable, which is good. It's not actually a lot of like behavioral change. People understand the very intuitive sense. More people on your side equals like more likelihood of closing the deal.
Yeah, sure.
But I like to flip it on its side. It's not just like more people like is easy formula. It's more like you're actually solving value for more people. And that's the underlying reason why they're excited about you, is because you're showing them that this is something that impacts the entire business and everybody can get behind you, versus someone that's in a silo fighting for you that maybe just has not explained that to the rest of the company and they don't know that this is valuable. Worst case, you have a really shit product and no one actually does care about the product. And so you won't win regardless.
Yeah.
But the point is, like, people get excited about that. They understand the value. And then it's just a question of, well, I can't operationalize it. That's really the gap. How do I make my worst rep feel like my best and have the same shared view for no matter who's working on what deal? I can have that story straight, so I can help them operationalize the process of who to get to, where the white space is, who I should go and help them get to next, so that my forecast is correct. That very long-winded answer of saying, what is the difference between when you're flying blind and when you're not? When you're not, you have a real story on each individual that's engaged in a deal.
I'll be very interested to see the analytics of this episode in a few months' time, when we see, right, at this point, that's when you've got the most people clicking and wanting to speak to you, because you've described it so perfectly. I'm just wondering, you've obviously, you've raised money, you've built a team, you're going to market, you're having conversations with people, and it's all because you saw an opportunity to do something better. We also talked about this when I was going, what's the vision? Is it about you disrupting the market? And you said, well, it's more like we're creating, a new category, we're a category of one. So when you talk about this gap that you saw in the market that was big enough for you to go and get a bunch of people to believe in you and then create what you've created today, talk to us about the gap that you solve.
Yeah. When we think about category building, it's interesting. I mean, obviously it's early days, right? Like, we'll see what we become, right? There's a long journey ahead of us, but the crux of what we want to do here is in the name. It's, you have always, as a leader, as a rep, had to deal with siloed, unstructured data across every single tool.
Yeah.
It's all over the place. You have to think about, hey, we're both breaking into DocuSign tomorrow. What am I going to have to do? Open up 5 tabs for every single contact in Salesforce, open up the opportunity I'm working on, open up the 6 gong calls and the 12 email threads, and like maybe the 6 LinkedIn sales nav. You're like, it's crazy just for one up. And you are hoping that your team is going to be able to cobble all that together into a real story of what's happening on the account. And what's really crazy, and like why we even chose to build this company when we did, is because until we started that company in January of last year, GPT didn't exist before that, right? 3.5 was really the first like inclination that you could make this swath of unstructured data make any sense together. Like, if I built this company with Will 2 years ago, I don't think we'd be getting anywhere right now. But for the first time, you can actually take a literal boatload of like the customer data lake that we sit on, every word in a gong call on an individual slice, every email, every calendar event, every Slack message, and actually turn that into a story that you can distill on a person-to-person level that takes away the heavy lifting of your rep having to open up 10 tabs per individual to get the story, right? And once you start doing that, then I think this starts actually like I have a very strong take on this that AI should be it should just feel like it's like an unlock for a workflow that you didn't realize could be unlocked. And that workflow in this case is the very heavy task that you shouldn't even be needing to do as a seller because you should be focusing on the human element of sales. But instead, you're sitting here like trawling through endless amounts of words in your brain doing what I just described. Like, what does Richard care about? Oh man, I gotta go find the slacks from him like 10 months ago. Oh, what is like the thing he actually said in the call versus the other 4 people on the call? it's, it's like crazy. Like you couldn't make sense of all that until we started the company a year ago, and now you can, and it's only getting better, right? The AI is only getting better. So I think where we say the R in your CRM is like the category almost is truly this idea of like a collaborative AI powered platform that everyone in go-to-market can benefit from now. That automatically builds itself. It creates itself the story because your team's already doing all the work. It's in every single touch point. Why would you have them waste all their time focusing on just gathering all that data when you can on a silver platter give the teams the information they need to then like 10x their human element because they can speak to Richard like you're the only one in my book of business because I know everything you've ever said and I can make you feel that way. But you could do that at the scale of 10,000 people across your entire book of business. Like that is now what's powerful and possible in a world with AI that literally like you could not build a company around a year ago. So the thing about category building, it's like maybe it's a deal collaboration platform, maybe it's the relationship platform. We'll see what category that turns into. But I think that the things we're indexing on is can you have a place where the entire team can come and sell together? And can you index on the individual relationship as the unit of value that everything is built around?
It's amazing. It just made me think about so many specific examples through my career when I started as a sales rep, like as an SDR, and then became a manager, then became a revenue leader, was managing reps, doing deal reviews. We were using, when we started, spreadsheets to go and do account planning, work out our heat maps. We created some technology off the back of it, but it was so laborious to go and like get a view of where you were on an account and to try and create mutual action plans. It was just, as soon as you wrote it, it was out of date. So a tool like this would have been an absolute godsend, and not just for the managers, because you're going to have all the visibility to be able to actually go and coach your rep, but for the rep, like we were taking so much of salespeople's time away to go and produce these documents, which were all about helping them to go and understand their deals better and get closer to customers. But all that time in admin took them away from their customers. And I definitely made that mistake before. And I think it's worse with tech. That was obviously a lot of spreadsheet work and a bunch of CRM stuff. But realistically, we had a podcast with a guy called Joseph Jenkins, fantastic VP sales. And he talked about a statistic which really scared me, which was that salespeople are spending like 71% of their time in administration tasks. And no one joins a company in a sales role where they've got, half of their remuneration attached to an OT number just to hit target. They want to go beyond that, with the idea that they're going to spend 3 out of every 5 days updating the CRM and, trying to get on top of deals and forecasting and doing gap planning and all those things. So when you're talking about the reps perspective on how this helps them to spend more time doing what they love to do, what are some of the favorite things that you hear in terms of the use case for reps that your tool enables?
Yeah. Also, by the way, Joseph, great guy. From Utah, right? From Slang. He used to be at Slang. Yeah. Joseph, you're watching. Great guy. We caught him a little while back. Yeah, just awesome. And yeah, to more directly answer your question on what do reps get excited about? Like, what are we solving for from the individual on the ground? I think the leaders, you open your eyes and see something like what we built where you can literally just open your eyes and look at the exact white space in your deal. That concept does not exist today. And so I think leaders get particularly excited about that because, of course, from what you said, the visibility piece, that is the flying blind part that they've always struggled with. And if that can go away, the impact from coaching, from them knowing exactly up front where the gaps are and being able to help the team think the same way is exactly what's going to make sure your forecast is correct. And there's no surprises coming down the line when, oh no, we didn't close the deal. Well, we knew 2 months ago you still have, like, no one ever talked to someone in the VP bucket. Like, of course we're not going to close this deal. It should never be a surprise anymore of what happens with your accounts. That's one. But from the rep perspective, the same thing holds true. Being able to, as a rep, when you have 50 ops that are all in flight with different names popping around of who you've talked to and what they care about, and having to take away like the right thing to say every single day, if we can just give you that knowledge and make it feel like you're talking to this person tomorrow, you're talking to Emily, this is what Emily gets excited about. Done. You don't have to go spend another hour a day per person, because again, the best reps feel like you can win on the individual level too, right? The best reps are on texting basis. They know the person's kids' names and their dog and everything about them that feels like a trusted advisor or friend. That is not trivial to do. Like it's hard. It's like a lot of work, let alone if you have the right memory or like place to track all of it. So being able to make it feel like that's just at your fingertips is something we really like to kind of see their eyes light up on when they're like, oh shit, I can just have those answers like at a click away. Awesome. But I think what's been really powerful, and I will very heavily index on why this is, in my eyes, like one of the strongest things we built. It is, if you look at like a company's makeup and where they got to so far, a CEO, the exec C-suite, the advisors and investors that they have historically are actually not connected to any rep in the company. If I'm an AE at DocuSign, starting DocuSign as an example, why would I be connected to my CEO's 50 advisors over like the last 10 years? I would not be. I am not connected to them on LinkedIn. What does that mean? The 10 ops that I'm working on, I actually have no clue in that entire untapped, potentially 8-9 figures of pipe waiting to be unlocked that is gated away by my CEO knowing them. And I am definitely not going to be pinging him or her to say, yo, do you know somebody across your 40 people and friends that are going to get me into this company? Maybe at best for like your top 10 deals. And then we've heard stories where like in offsites, people are literally passing around spreadsheets in their exec room being like, checkbox, do you know somebody in this account? Do you know somebody in this account? It's crazy. It's like such a waste of time. And like, there's so many more important things to be done. But if you can unlock that network of like truly hundreds of advisors and friends of the company that you can then put in the fingertips of your go-to-market team, because everyone's incentives are aligned here, right? They're an advisor for a reason. They're an investor for a reason. Everyone wins when you can close more deals. And so they're in the best interest of giving you access to that to be able to expand your network. We have done that for our customers. And we've literally seen on onboarding calls that the rep that was working a deal on the call found that their CEO's advisor knew the CMO of the biggest prospect that they were going after. Intro, done. Like that unlock has been really cool to see reps' eyes light up and be like, holy shit, there's so much person capital and network capital that we can now tap into that even if you paid for Sales Nav, even if you paid for LinkedIn Team Link, you wouldn't even know exists because those people are not in either because they're not your mutuals. So I think the power of unlocking your network and borrowing a bit of that trust to break into accounts and, you know, find those creative ways and almost like the game of the pathway to the top is it's something that they didn't even know they had access to, and they frankly didn't until Centralize. So that's been really cool to see.
Brilliant use case. It reminds me of a podcast I listened to yesterday. One of my heroes is called Dan Sullivan, who runs the strategic coach sessions and wrote Who Not How and 10x is easier than 2x, just ridiculous books. And he was talking on a podcast with a group of his strategic coach entrepreneurs about what is marketing. And one of them had a wonderful definition, which is that people talk about people buy from people that they know, like, and trust, but they group them. And they shouldn't. It's not a group, it's a process. And to go from not knowing you to knowing you is the biggest leap by far.
Sure.
And then to go from knowing you to liking you is smaller. And then liking you to trusting you is even smaller. But that first thing, and why so many businesses struggle to win net new logos and they really get stuck at a certain revenue number and they start churning and you know, they put all the pressure on the sales team, is because they just can't get enough people to know them. And so what it seems to me like this is giving that visibility again, all the people within your business and potentially your network. I know you're massively into networking and community, But if you can tap into all of that, your ability to find opportunities to be known, potentially take someone's credibility and refer you in as someone that you should like. And then even potentially we're already working with these guys, we've got a relationship, you can trust them. What that would do in terms of velocity of deals and just in terms of removing competition from the deal immediately must be astronomical.
Yeah. I can't tell you the number of people that we've now had chats with that maybe some of you guys are listening or not. It's kind of funny. It's like, I don't blame you for this, but have ignored many emails and messages from me on LinkedIn. But if it came from the right person, happily made the time of day. I don't even think they even saw the original ones. They were just like, yeah, this is just another one of those in the inbox. I don't even open the email and delete, classic. Yeah. And then you get an intro from a trusted advisor that knows our product, loves us as a team, knows we can deliver, and knows what the other person's doing and knows that it would be a good fit and conveys that. And now you're kind of borrowing a bit of the like goodwill that they have and the fact that I'll probably make a post on this later next week, but I generally think the only reason those intros work is because the only reason anyone will ever be willing to make them is that they're putting their reputation on the line for you to even make that intro in the first place.
Yeah.
And if someone is going to go do that and do it for people that they don't believe in, they're about to lose, like they're going to burn all their social credibility. 100%. So you can only do that. And hopefully on the other side, expect that if it is coming in, it's because this person believes there's something here. And that is like what you can almost borrow as part of leaning on your extended network of all these great folks that have goodwill, want to see you succeed, want to feel a little bit of the rush of helping you on the journey and get you there and kind of be like a little role in that puzzle. And yeah, there's a reason companies build customer networks and advisor networks and all these people who are already incentivized to see you grow. And if you can tap into that, yeah, you're probably shaving. I mean, I'm not even saying probably. We have case studies where it took 3 months for one of our partners to realize that their CRO knew the biggest decision maker in their Q1 deal. Imagine you could shave your deal cycle down by a quarter because that answer was just staring you in the face for the rep that woke up and opened that opportunity. That is what sales should look like.
I love it. And also, I would imagine you would find out about deals much earlier because the people that you would hang around with that have those kind of relationships you're talking to regularly, maybe it's over golf, maybe it's down the pub, maybe it's just in a random catch-up call, but they're talking about the things that they're going to be working on. So it's not like they've gone to market to try and find a solution to a problem. They're facing the problem today. And someone might go, oh, you should go and speak to Rachit, And it's like, why we got introduced was through a referral from Stephen, right?
So it's very similar.
It's just how it works. It's how the game works. And I love that you're using technology to go and get people talking to people. Because for me, that's AI for good. There's a whole load of AI for bad. Like you say, people are ignoring messages because it's outrageous the amount of spam pitch slaps that we get. And it's just all AI generated. You're in a sequence. It's horrendous. No one likes to be on that side where people are trying to replace humans with badly done AI and just scale something that didn't work in the first place. But if you're enabling people to spend more time with people, that's good for everyone. I'm just wondering, it's obviously not all roses. It's not all like this perfect plan. We go and pitch to YC, we do 3 months, we come out, we're graduated, we get some money, we go and raise some, if we go and start to win some customers. What have been some of the more challenging moments and the biggest lessons that you've had to learn on this journey so far?
Yeah, definitely much more than the successes. That's for sure. Like we were, it's been founding is not for the faint of heart. It's Will and I intentionally went down this path knowing it's probably the hardest thing we could be doing in our careers. And if we can take the risk while we can and just like go in hyper learning mode and try this out, worst case, we have an insane amount of amazing friends that we probably would have never known in our lives had we stayed at Meta and Slack respectively. And just the biggest ambitions we had would become like be an engineering manager or director, which is amazing. Like I think you have crazy impact. Imagine being the director of like a feature at Meta that impacts 1 billion people. It's like, yeah. It is a very, very valuable place to be working too. And like what you can get access to. But for us, it was always about like, how do we do the hardest things? And I think a lot of those challenges, especially in the early days, even during Y Combinator, is this like ongoing existential dread in the back of your head that all these hours and sacrifices you're making and the compromise for your family and time spent with friends and everything you used to do before being a
Mm,
founder that
mm,
has now been thrown to the wayside is all worth something. Like you're
mm,
hopefully on the right track and you're building something that
mm.
matters.
Yeah,
And like the very quick realization you'll get when you build a company is that basically the world owes you nothing, right? Like you could have had all the success in the world and whatever you want to define that as in your career historically, but if you're not building something people care about, you'll be humbled very, very fast.
yeah,
That why should anyone ever respond to you? Why do you deserve a response from that cold email, from that intro? You don't. You're like a random person on the street that no one knows, right? Like even if no people know you, if you don't have anything of value, they still they're busy. Like everyone's busy. So I think a lot of that was the learnings in the beginning of like how do we refine what we're saying and what we're bringing and just who we are as people and the like energy we want to bring that would make anyone just feel like, yeah, it's like worth a 30-minute chat. And like, this is cool to learn from them or like hear what they're up to. And being able to do that and slowly iterating on what we thought was a very specific problem we wanted to solve in January and February, getting a very quick existential dread in March because it wasn't working in reality. Like there was a very specific thing we were trying to do back then, which was this idea of a almost like a customer GPT, if you will. It was just taking all of the conversations and throwing it into this big pile of data per account and then saying, hey, let's like basically give you a customer GPT, kind of like chat GPT that you click and can chat with any of your conversations and help really any still go to market individual feel like they have a story about the account. You can kind of squint and it's not too far from what I'm describing of what the new product is.
yeah,
Not even new, kind of it's a
yeah,
reframing.
yeah,
But what took a lot of pain and hundreds of conversations and existential back and forths and chats with our founders, like partners at YC, and Will and I like looking at the whiteboard, being like, is this a good use of the last 6 months? I don't know. Um, to realize was everything coming back to that first sentence. Deals are not won at the account level; they're won at the individual level. And it took us a long time to realize that just giving a recap of just like a sea of emails and calls and saying, here's your account overview is actually not that valuable. It's a very
yeah,
ambiguous problem that we're saying we can solve for you. Ask any question on whatever is happening in your account. That's not like a real problem. The real problem is how do I understand each individual that matters and who we've got into and whether or not I'm getting to the people that are going to influence, this end-to-end experience. That like getting to that answer and building what we built in June, 6 months after we started the company, actually 8 months after incorporation, did it include 8 months of like, holy shit, what are we doing here? Like, is this the right thing? Are we spending time on a problem that people care about? And it was a bit of that idea maze for a while. And yeah, you definitely have to have a little bit of a steeled mindset on like, we will figure it out. It's not just this endless, like every call ended with maybe a 3 out of 10 excitement level from the person on the other side. Cause what you're doing isn't frankly that interesting. Um, and yeah, just having that great growth iterative mindset. And we have those feelings every day. It's not like that stopped. There's a bunch of challenges. Like now what we're stressing about is we have customers coming on board and we frankly don't have the engineering bandwidth to deliver in that time. So how's it going to happen? And wanting to make sure we do right by all these people that have throughout the sales cycle taken this big bet on a scrappy team because we can and we will with all the hiring we're doing deliver for them. But we have to deliver. The only blocker is execution now. And that's also like always a feeling like we're not executing enough. Like we can always be building more and better for our customers. So the goalpost changes here and there, but I think yeah, there's quite a lot of existential question marks that you have to be comfortable with in the first like even now, like year or two of the business, I'm sure.
I love the honesty, and I think it's fascinating. I also think it shows a lot about the power of having a co-founder. You're not in this alone, and that would be an incredibly difficult place to be. What is that dynamic like between you and Will? And where are you both strong, and how does it complement? Give me a bit of a flavor of
Yeah,
what that feels like.
I would definitely be remiss to say that if not for Will, I would be a flailing individual. I'd be struggling hard. Like Will is a majority of the reason why like I get up every day excited about what we're building and like what we're doing, and it's largely because also Will and I have been in college friends and roommates and have built things together for a long time, almost a decade. We met first week of college, right? Uh, it's one of those kind of, you like find this out later, um, when you see other companies trying to build. And one thing is the product, like excited about what you're building, it's useful. More importantly is, are the people that are building that company actually meant to be the founders of that company? Like, both in terms of their relationship together, in terms of the founder market fit of why they're the ones to win in that space. And I think that former is actually literally during the batch, we'd seen people break up and get kicked out of YC on the first week of YC because
Wow.
they thought that being co-workers back at their prior company was good enough. It's not good enough. You have to be married to that person. You're going to see that person more than potentially your partner. And like, right? You probably are, given how long work goes every day, right? So
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
someone that you genuinely have to be like ecstatic to wake up to and riff with, understand what their perspectives are, go back and forth in a way that is productive and not pulling each other away from like the long-term goal.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I would say Will and I are very much on the same page. We like live and breathe relationships, and so everything we do is rooted in that. And the dynamic is, initially he's a founder engineer, I'm a founding engineer. Effectively, like we both can code, we can both sell, we can both build. I like to think our personalities are pretty, just like to have a fun time and meme around, enjoy each other's company and our customers' company. And so we did a lot of that together for like the first 6 months. And then very quickly, once we started scaling into the customer bases we have now, it became more critical to actually take a hard look at, okay, Ratchet, you're going to have to do a lot of the front of the house, marketing, sales, and take a step back from engineering for the benefit of the company.
Mm.
Because as pretty as the clothes are inside of our store, if no one's turning the revolving door, what's the point,
Yeah.
right?
100%.
But Will's out here doing all things customer success and making sure everyone's happy that walks in, and what their feedback is translates to the next line of items that we ship out and put into the store, and tie that back to our customers' engineering roadmap. And so that's starting to become much more of the natural split of how we complement each other. And I think it's for the better, because those are very specific skill sets we need to be very good at.
Yeah.
But yeah, it every day we still see each other every day. At the end of every day, debrief on what needs to happen tomorrow, and it helps when you're building with your best friend.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the dream, right? That's what you need, isn't it? Because it's definitely, it's, as a founder myself, not of someone as ambitious as you, but it's a really really hard thing to do, and you're constantly pivoting, you're constantly having, you know, moments of crisis and then moments of euphoria, and you know, you're just trying to work out how you can be better and what business you want to build and what business you don't want to build, and you're taking advice from everywhere. It's really complicated. So to have someone that you really trust, who's got your back, and if things are going wrong, then you have a way of working together through the problem. I think that's really powerful. I was going to ask you how you do it all, because you're very active on LinkedIn, you're talking to customers, you're selling. You know, you talked about examples where you've been like, you know, getting a new requirement from a call and then going and building it like within 48 hours. Why are you focusing on going to all the events, doing the networking and the LinkedIn, when you could easily have an excuse to not do it because you've got so many other priorities? Why is that something you're continuing to put such a big focus on at this stage?
Yeah. So here's what I'll say. The fun part about building a company like Centralize is we live and breathe it every day. It's a very meta experience, right? Like, all about Centralize is all about building relationships. And building relationships is at the core of everything that we want to do. It's building the personal brand and engaging with all the people that I want to build relationships on LinkedIn that see the
Yeah.
value and level we're up to. And even the reason I'm standing here today, frankly, right, is like a big piece of that is being able to say like, hey, there's all these amazing people that care about go to network and building relationships and multi-threading. And Steven's amazing. He's one of them. Steven Newman, you're probably watching. Shout out, man. Nicest. We'll catch up probably
100%.
after this. And that's the reason that like really cool people get to meet each other and make interest to one another, and then find themselves on a really great guy's podcast and like yapping about things all day long. Like those are those are all outcomes of exactly putting ourselves out there and meeting people in person and online. And I don't know, it's like slightly selfish, but I I have like so many amazing people I can now call friends that I would just not know had I not embarked on this journey. Like, why, very candidly, why would a CRO of a multi-billion-dollar company ever spend 30 minutes with an engineer at Meta? I'll just say it right now. Like, what is the possible reason why I'd ever be in that scenario?
Sure.
I would not. and it's for a good reason, because that person at Meta is doing really, really good at creating a better product for Meta and scaling that company and having an amazing impact on a number that's like unfathomable for most companies to even think about as a customer base. On the flip side, what gets me so excited is like, like the conversation I can have where I'm like an equal in a room with a CRO and be able to just say like, I can truly help you improve what you are struggling with most and like wake up with nightmares with every day, like flying blind with goggles on, and I can take those off and look at this pretty world that you didn't realize exists. And seeing them get excited on a call and like their eyes light up is such a different feeling when it's not me just asking for time to like see what their life is like, but generally showing that to them and them like, again, very selfishly, that excitement makes my day very good every day. I feel really good about that.
Yeah.
So a big piece of it is just you don't get those moments and memories and selfies and friendships without doing all those things. And all that just ladders into literally the crux of our product that we want to live and breathe every day, which is sales should be about building human relationships. Anything that helps you optimize for the human element and help you talk to more people and build those things is what the future of this industry should look like. And Centralize, hopefully, for every B2B SaaS, upmarket motion company that's out there, is the solution to help your team do exactly that, to focus on the human element of sales.
I love it. I mean, you should definitely be a founder.
I'll consider it. I'll consider it.
So I think it would be a really nice point for us to switch into some Tickfire questions if you're up for it, Raja.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, cool. Perfect. So if you had a podcast launching tomorrow, who would you have as your first guest, dead or alive?
Well, very interesting. Very interesting. I mean, I guess you could say Zuck, but that's more of like a meta scale of like, meta, yeah, like the scale of kind of B2C company building. I'll have to think about the like who that individual would be, but that's probably that's probably be like the title of the pod is like the like biggest multi-threader of our time featuring blah, and I'll figure out the name later, but that would be the person.
I love it. Well, there you go. The idea was born now, and I would definitely recommend that someone who's had a podcast for the last 20 months to do that, because there's no better way to meet wonderful, interesting people like yourself. So which businesses do you personally look up to and admire as ones that you would love to emulate?
Yeah, that's a good one. There are a few. I've heard amazing things about the way box and Dropbox grew in the early days of like, despite maybe seeming like a commodity, like, oh, it's just like a file storage system, being able to scale the way that they have and like permeate the market by just executing and delivering value. It's pretty cool to hear those stories. I mean, I'll shout out some really great people. Kalen Sa, Peter Ron, Chen Li, like amazing folks that were basically first go-to-market hires of those companies and have gone on to do incredible things that I can call friends. Just like seeing their story there, it's pretty insane. So I'd say that. I think Slack is incredible in terms of like how sticky they became, how quickly, like the viral effect of that. And it's also very much in the ethos of like connecting people and relationships too. Yeah. So I'd definitely shout them out. I think those are the two that like quickly come to mind. There's obviously some startups I think that are doing well too, but I'll pause there. Yeah, I'd say those two.
We'll ask this question to a guest in a couple of years and they'll say you.
That'd be very cool. That'd be very cool.
Everyone watching. So what, another question. So I believe that hiring is very simple, not easy, but very simple. There are 4 types of people that businesses can hire: adders, subtractors, multipliers, and dividers. Adders, steady state players. You can rely on them all day long, but they're not going to revolutionize your business. Subtractors, wrong hire, don't really have the capability, aren't really aligned, pull everyone away, drain the energy. Multipliers, 10x everyone's impact, are the game changers inside the business. Like you talk about the alumni of all these businesses who were the first entrepreneurial team have all gone to become found. You've seen all of those maps. And then dividers, highly capable people who divide, who pull away, who bring in politics. How do you as a founder find more of the multipliers and avoid the dividers?
Yeah, That's interesting. I mean, very timely because we're actively doubling our engineering team right now, thinking about who those multipliers would be. Uh, One of the strongest indices of that actually is, does this person want to be a founder in the future? Because a founder in the future is someone today that is willing to wear any hat and deal with any whiplash in the company because they're always focused on the end customer as the North Star. It's not about their promos, not about the internal politics, not about anything there. It's all about how are we getting this coming to the next level? And can I be the person at a conference selling? Can I be the person creating our marketing materials? Can I be the one creating the engineering? Like all of that. Obviously, index, like your T should look like a very deep engineering T, but the ability to jump in and be a partner on anything else for the business. Because then you can multiply on any of those. Just build your T's across the board. But I would say that mindset is a very good indicator.
I love it. I love it. Last Tickfire question, and then I'm going to ask you my favorite question of all time. So finish the sentence. The sales leaders who will excel in the next 3 years will excel by
focusing on building relationships.
Perfect. Okay, cool. Then this last question, I do promise, Rachit, because it's been so exceptional, is again from Dan Sullivan, one of my favorite authors. So the question is, if we were having this discussion in 3 years from today, and you were to look back over those 3 years to today, what will have happened, both personally and professionally, for you to feel happy about your progress?
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I'm going to say something adjacent and then answer the question. I think it's very easy to be on the hedonistic treadmill as just like everybody who's always aspiring for the next thing. I have friends that like regular guys that just became founders of unicorns by grinding for the last 6 years. I'm sure it still just feels like the next milestone is the next billion now, right? Like there's always something to go towards. And I think we'll keep feeling that way. I mean, I reflect and think, oh, we had no revenue and no product a year ago. And I was still like, damn, I got to get like that first customer. Now that we have a bunch of customers that we love and are supporting, it's like, well, I need my next 20, right? Like we have to keep thinking in that growth mindset. So I'll first call out that I think the more that you let yourself think that way, you will never be happy. Like whether in 3 years I'm at 100 customers or still at, like double digits, it's going to be, it's something where I'd rather like, if I had to say what makes me happy, it'll be that like we are still in channels with Slacks with customers every day that are like sending out fire emojis for everything we build because they love what we're doing and what we're building. If that's true, and I feel like we're on a trajectory where we're still true to our mission, and hopefully that's like naturally expanding over time as we keep growing, that, and even today, is still much, much, much more fun than anything I've ever done in my career. And like, if that continues to be true and I'm still building with my best friends, it frankly should not matter if I'm at Series A or C or IPO or whatever's happening in the next 3 years. Sure, maybe there's some financial outcomes of that. Cool. Would not hurt, I will say. But I think I've just had so many chats with founders that have made it or have succeeded, quote unquote, and like I want to be very mindful myself of like it's so easy to look and compare it to that, but as long as I'm having way more fun than anything else I could be doing right now, and that's still true 3 years from now, I'll probably just keep doing it. Like life is good.
I love it. Well, look, Ratchet, you are a legend, and I'm really happy that we managed to sort of capture this moment, this stage of your journey. It'll be wonderful to have you back on in a little bit of time and see where you've built. And I think that the passion that you've got for your business, the purity of what you're trying to build, is a really good reason why people should choose you as the solution, but also why people should join your business. So thank you so much for giving your time.
Thank you for making the time as well, man. This is a lot of fun. I'm glad we're here.
Good man. Perfect. Well, everyone, I'll put the links so you can follow Ratchet and Centralize in the show notes. But for everyone else, thank you for your time. We'll see you on the next episode. Thank you for listening. And if you enjoyed this conversation, we've got a newsletter called Growth Magnet on LinkedIn, where we take the best insights from all of these episodes and turn them into bite-sized format for you to enjoy.